One thing they didn't lie about, though, is their absolute obsession with green policies. Let's talk about that with Rupert Darwall now. He's the author of Green Tyranny and joins us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, there's two stories, one at home, one abroad. Let's start with abroad, because COP29 finished over the weekend. As always, went down to the last minute, people walking out and getting all upset. And obviously, lots of people aren't happy with what was actually achieved at COP, which was a huge sum of money, $300 billion being pledged from richer countries to poorer countries. To do what exactly, Rupert?
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. The idea is that the developing countries need to be compensated for embarking on decarbonisation, something that politicians here tell us is it will make the economy stronger. But of course, developing countries know full well it makes them a lot poorer.
So it makes us richer, but it will make those countries poorer. I thought green energy was so brilliant and wonderful and affordable and efficient that this was a boon. Developing countries shouldn't need to be paid compensation for this.
Well, it's the sums are actually they're staggering. You actually can't compensate countries for indulging themselves on self-harming by decarbonisation. So Christine Lagarde is $300 billion. The COP29 pledges.
But they wanted trillions. So they're upset.
Well, Christine Lagarde, they're right, actually. They're right on this one. Christine Lagarde, President of the European Central Bank, says that the cost of net zero globally is $11.7 trillion a year. So if you say that the developing world is 60% of that, you're talking about $5 trillion a year, which is 15 times the 300
So they underpriced themselves. But that's, no one can really work out what this is going to do. We know that, though, this is sort of money that goes to all these NGOs, these charities, the super green industry. I'm sure a number of countries are going to see their president getting a new jet and a lovely new palace as well, aren't they? Because this is where this sort of money ends up going.
Yeah, Julia, there is a huge amount of corruption in the UN climate process. If you go to one of these COPs, it just stares at you. You see it all over the place. Yep. They're given anonymous cash cards where they can, developing countries delegates. I mean, it's just horrible. But the thing is that the money, the resources you're talking about are simply not available to do this stuff. I mean, that's the end of it, really. Yeah. There's just not enough resources in the world to do it.
Well, exactly, but also they shouldn't do it because they're going to impoverish their own people the same way our government's doing to us. Let's bring things back to home, though, because I love it when people actually say the quiet bit out loud. We have, obviously, the Energy Select Committee supposed to hold the government to account. Of course, it's not. We've got, a Labour backbencher. Bill Esterson is the chairman of that committee, but he's let the cat out of the bag, saying that the net zero targets will absolutely force Britons to change how they live their lives. They'll have to adjust their habits to meet those targets, not just for 2050 but for 2030 as well, and that's directly contradicting Keir Starmer's claim only early this month, saying that we'll hit our climate targets without telling people how to behave. But it's all a lie, because we are going to have to change our lives massively if we were to hit those targets.
Yeah, I mean, Sir Keir is now doing exactly what he did before the election, which is not being truthful about his intention to raise taxes. Yeah. Absolutely the case that net zero involves profound what they call behavioural change. That's what the IPCC
and just list a few of those changes.
Well, it's particularly dietary. Diet's a big one, because you've really got to stop eating dairy and meat. That's an absolutely huge one. Lower speed limits on motorways. You're talking about very restricted air travel. It will be really profound. I mean, we're going into a new age of poverty with this stuff.
We really are. And again, but by the way, though, they assume, obviously, it'll just be us that make those changes, not them. Always so good to talk to you. Rupert Darwall, author of Green Tyranny. Just a quick word from Sam Armstrong, listening to that.
Yeah, you can't cut taxes in this country. You can't get public services working until you deal with welfare, climate, and the COVID payments that we're still making back.
Yep.
And this government seems hell-bent on doing the exact opposite of what we need, spending even more money, sending it overseas to make up for some debt we owe to goodness knows who, for something that I don't know what did, to only make them poorer and us.
They're properly bad. There's a petition about it right now.